Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are doing good. I'm Nimesh Gopaguma of Group A, and we'll be presenting Unit 1 of EPM 1113 Project Management Overview and Context. So, my group members are Anu Hawa, Ashwati Verghese, Kashyap Doshi, myself Nimesh Gopaguma, Ronak Suta, and Shahina Ibrahim. Uh, so, in the introduction part, we'll get to know about what is a project, what is an operation, and what is project management. So I know that you guys have a clear picture of what is a project and a project, uh, what is a project and an operation. But just to give you a quick reminder, we've prepared a table giving the differences between different aspects of what project and an operation. So let's go to that table. Here it is, the difference between a project and an operation. So a project is a temporary work with a defined start and end date, whereas an operation may be an ongoing day-to-day activity following the standard operating procedures. And an operation does not have a defined start and end date. So a project reaches its end when the objectives are achieved or when it is terminated because the project objectives cannot be met, whereas an operation is a repetitive process which keeps on repeating like a cycle. There are certain examples we can provide for project and operation, but we'll do a small task to get further clarification of what is a project and an operation. We'll take two pictures and we'll find out why one picture is a project and one picture is an operation. So the first one we'll be taking is a picture of Lulu Mall, which is being built in Trivandrum, which is in India. So, why is this picture a project? So, the common example of a project can be any temporary work which has a defined start and end date. So, why is this construction project a project? Why is this construction a project? Like we saw in the earlier files, this construction project will have a defined start and end date. It may be from today to 2 years from now or 5 years from now, as long as it has a definite start and end date, which it does. It can be considered as a project, and the project is considered successful if the end result is acceptable. So I'll just out the give out the definition of a project according to the PMBOK. So according to the PMBOK, a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, result, or a result, product, result, or service. So that's all about project, and let's look at next picture. So this is the accounting activities of firm. The picture denotes an accounting activities of a firm. So why can this activity be considered as an operation? So the main point to be taken is that an accounting activity of a firm can be a day-to-day activity or a monthly activity. So this can be considered as an operation because this process keeps repeating itself, like we said in the definition of an operation. An operation is a process which is quite repetitive, like it goes like a cycle. So, as an accounting activity of a firm keep is a repetitive activity, it can be considered as an operation. And certain other examples of an operation is the maintenance of a firm can also be considered as a very good example of an operation. So next, we'll be discussing about what are the project requirements. So project requirements, like the name suggests, we'll be taking an example to give out the project requirements. So many of you guys may not know, but Kochi Metro is one of the largest projects in the history of Kerala. So we'll be taking that as an example to give out the different project requirements of a project. Uh, so first of all, a project requires certain stakeholders. Uh, so we'll say a combination of stakeholders, maybe external or internal stakeholders. So we'll say a combination of stakeholders. So who are a stakeholder? Stakeholder is a party that has an interest in a company and can affect or either be affected by its business. Like I said earlier, they can be both internal and external stakeholders. So coming to Kochi Metro in particular, who are the stakeholders? We'll see that the customers who are using the services of Kochi Metro is one of the stakeholders, and the employees who are working under Kochi Metro and who has done the work in the past to finish to complete the project on time is one of the stakeholders, and local businesses and local communities who benefit and can be affected by this Kochi Metro is stakeholder. Civic societies and appropriate state and federal government authorities who are responsible for building the Kochi Metro is a key stakeholder in the fact. Project requirements, that's stakeholders. And next one is a start. It's the start and finish date. So Kochi Metro was initially scheduled for 4 years construction, and the start date was June 20th, somewhere on June 2013, and the finish date was 17 June 2017. So it's like 4 year span between the construction. So it definitely meets the start and end date criteria. So that's about the requirements for the start and finish date. So and the creation of a product or service. So an important aspect is the end product. If the end product is a successful, uh, the end product in this case is a successful and efficient means of transport. So it definitely meets the requirements of service. And the next requirement is that the project be completed on time and budget. Um, the Kochi Metro was initially scheduled for 4 years, like I've said before, and it opened to the public within 4 years, starting from the date of construction, and making it one of the fastest completed metro projects in India. So that's quite an achievement in itself. And the cost of construction is around 5181.79 crores, which is nearly 890 million Canadian dollars, which is huge, but it's worth it. Uh, Next is customer satisfaction. One of the key requirements of a project is customer satisfaction. Like a project becomes an utter failure if a project becomes an utter failure without the satisfaction of its customers. So the main requirement is customer satisfaction. In this case, the Kochi Metro is an economical, easy to access mode of transport, which provides traffic relief for passengers who are passing through Kochi, which is a large and congested city, like you said. So next is resource limitations. There may be certain resource limitations when it comes to uh, the the acquiring the resources needed for completing the project on time. And the project Kochi Metro as a project has certainly lived up to its standards by completing it on time with good resource allocation with customer satisfaction. So it's a good example to be taken for getting quite a good idea about project requirements. So that's all about project requirements and Kochi Metro. And next is project management. I'll just be giving out the definition, and my friend Shaina will further the talk about the project management. Project management also PM. Project management is the skills, tools, and management processes required to undertake a project successfully. There are 49 project management processes according to the PMBOK 6th edition. So that's all for my part, and my friend Shaina will take over with different stages of project management. Thank you guys, and have a nice day.
Good morning, everyone. I'm myself Shahina Mudre. I'm going to the topic of stages of project management. I think we already know learn about all the basic things and the knowledge about this topic. So I'm not going to discuss or discuss that much. This is the basic thing, and we know that every project has are passing through five basic stages. They are initiating, planning, monitoring and controlling, execution, and closing. And the first stage on this is initiation. On the project initiation means we starting a thing. We are going to start a new project. From on this stage, we are going to discuss the scope, feasibility of that particular project, and its objectives and the basic things about the project. On the second stage of project planning, once we get a green light on the project, we are going to do the planning. On the planning, it include a solid plan to direct the team and keep them on track. Plans, we are doing the plans for cost, scope, duration, quality, communication, means communication in between each other, between the resources and like that. And the risk we want to face on this construction time and the resources. And on this phase, we are making a work breakdown structure or Gantt chart, something like that. And the third stage is project execution. Execution means we are going to it means we are executing, means something we are doing. On this we can find the developments, and we can conduct testers and like that. On the fourth stage is project monitoring and controlling. The third stage, project execution, and the fourth phase, project monitoring and controlling, are doing at the same time because they occur at the same time. So we want to monitor and control how the construction is going, and like that we want, if it's going up to it's going to the like our plan, it's our deadline or milestones. If some action is required for that, we want to do, or else we want to control like that. And the fifth stage is project closure. Project closure means we completed and we just want to transfer the key, or we are handling the we are opening the resource, or we are opening the building, like that. So I think we all know about the five stages and about its details. So I'm going to an example or practical example of Burj Khalifa in Dubai. On the initiation phase, it's going to the objectives, scope, feasibility, and like that. In case of Burj Khalifa, the owner and developer of Burj Khalifa is Emaar Properties. Design architecture engineer is Skidmore, Owings and Merrill LLP. And the project manager is Turner International LLC. And the objectives of Burj Khalifa is we everyone know that it's the tallest building It's the tallest man-made building in the world. So create the world tallest building and freestanding structure is the main objective of Burj Khalifa, and set a benchmark of creativity, inspiration, and achievement. Uh, Use a hybrid structure of reinforced concrete and steel frame, improve protection and security against the cost powerful winds. And we know that we made the main plan of Burj Khalifa is in the shape of Y, and that's the main objective and the highlight of this particular building. And the scope means we are the feasibility, or we are going to through the feasibility. So the location of Burj Khalifa is Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Boulevard, Dubai in United Arab Emirates. And the start and end date, they are planned to start on January 2004 and end on December 2008. But unfortunately, it's ended, or the construction is completed on September 2009. And the planned cost was 876 million US dollars, and it finally went up to around 1.5 billion US dollars. And I already told them on the planning stage, we are describing, we are making a work breakdown structure. The work breakdown structure of Burj Khalifa it's started on January 2004. The excavation is started on February 2004. Its piling started, and March 2005, superstructure started. On June 2006, level 50 reached. On January 2007, it's went up to 100, and on March 2007, it's reached its level of 110. And April 2007, it's up to 120, and May it's 130, and on July 2007, it's become the world's tallest building by reaching the level of 141. And on September 2007, it's reached its 150 level, and at that moment, it turned to the world's tallest freestanding structure. And in April 2008, level 160 reached world tallest man-made structure. And January 2009, the completion of pier, and September 2009, the exterior cladding completed. On January 2010, official launching ceremony of Burj Khalifa. And about the human resources, there were 380 engineers and on-site technicians, 7,500 construction workers. The design of the Burj Khalifa tower was derived from geometry of the desert floor, which indigenous to the region, and the patterning system embedded in Islamic architecture. And the materials are foundation, 3.7 meter concrete concrete and steel, 330,000 meter cube of concrete, and 39,000 tons of steels are used. External cladding, reflective glazing and aluminum and textured stainless steel standard panels, etc. And the risk, while considering the risk, we know when the height rises, the risk also going to rise, because the main thing is about the water and fire, because we know that it's especially in a tall building, especially in a high-rise building, because it's concentrated in a single structure. That's why the escape of water is the main problem, because it can delay the work and all. So in case of Burj Khalifa, the risk means during the construction and after the construction is made is weather, and the next is wind, because it's we know the climatic condition of Arab, so they're having a lot of wind, and not only because of the climate, it's high rise, so the problem of wind going to be the more, and the fire hazard, worker safety, and natural catastrophe, budget constraints, Delayed completion date, I already told that it's delayed. So like that. And in execution, structural health monitoring program and network called SHM aided to measure the sustainability of the tower during the construction process and also after the tower occupation. The structure was designed very safely to withstand the effect of wind and gravity load even during stages of construction. There were numerous cameras installed that could detect the unsafety condition and number of people inside the building. The tower was made up of 160 stories and was scheduled to be completed within given periods. The project adopted a no construction technology called 3-day cycle, which means raise the entire construction one story per every 3 days. Means every 3 days we want to complete one story. During the construction time, the quality and safety control management of the project was greatly monitored and maintained. They include implementing the tools and mechanism for constructing the building, transporting a large amount of steel and concrete higher into the air, dealing with weather changes that would complicate the construction process, performance measurement and monitoring inputs in all departments, investigation of incidents or accidents, implementing risk management, regulating information system, and finally the fifth stage, that is closing. The Burj Khalifa was opened in January 2010. The ceremony featured a display of 10,000 fireworkers light beams projected on and around the tower, and further sound light and water effects. And there were a lot of medias and peoples are there for witnessing this moment. This is all about my topic. I think my friends got an idea about the 5 phases and with a practical example of Burj Khalifa Burj Khalifa construction. And next, I'm going to the next topic will handled by Anuhava, history of project management. And welcome, Anuhava.
Hi everyone, my name is Anuhava and I am going to talk about the history of project management. As all we know, project management is not something that has started very recently. It has a great history. So, the story of project management has started from ancient ages, and ever since there have been work endeavors, people have been using management ideas, methods, and techniques to achieve the task in the proper way. Let's talk about project management in historical construction. Actually, there are other construction works like Great Wall of China and Pyramid of Giza, which are from ancient ages. But our professor has already mentioned about those during our first class, so I'm not going to repeat about them. Let's talk about Taj Mahal. Even though Taj Mahal is not from ancient ages, it is still considered as a historical construction. And it was built even before the commencement of proper and established project management practices. So Taj Mahal is one among the world wonders and completed in 1643, and it's a marble mausoleum. Let's see how the people from history used the project management factors and ideas in their construction during that period. Okay, about Taj Mahal. Even though they used very primitive and old construction techniques and methods for the construction, it's a very good example of exceptional planning and calculation. And also the King Shah Jahan, the owner and the sponsor of the project, gathered a board of architects and designers under supervision for the construction of the project. It is something like the steering committee in the modern times or in the current scenario. So it's a comparison of stakeholders. Taj Mahal is a very good example of coordination and also allocation of the materials and resources. So they managed to get a different kind of various type of materials and resources from all over the country. So it is one of the success side of the project management. And also they hired thousands of workers and skilled laborers for particular work. So as all we can see, Taj Mahal is a very beautiful monument with extremely accurate and detailed carving, calligraphies and sculptures. So we can see how they managed to hire experts and or skilled laborers from different parts, different corners of a country to complete a particular or specific work. And those workers included sculptors, uh, calligraphers, stone cutters, and so on. And also, they used paid and slave labor. It's a very good example of coordination of human labor. And also, Taj Mahal is a combination of elements from different cultures that include Islamic, Persian, Ottoman, Turkish, and Indian. So that was one of their scope or requirements to include different cultures in a single building. So from the project management view, they succeed to attain to establish one of the scopes that is to combine all the cultures in a single building. So it is a best side of the project management. Okay, so even though the practice of project management was emerged from ancient ages, the formal project management tools and techniques started in the mid of 1950s. And in early 20th century, when the engineering and manufacturing businesses got developed, the project management started to evolve as a practice to pave path to better management methods and technologies, and this improves the productivity. We can classify the development of modern project management into 4 periods, and those are prior to 1958, 1958 to 1979, 1980 to 1994, 1995 to present. I'm going to take one example from first and last period and explain how the development of that particular period influenced the project management factors of that period. So first period, prior to 1958. It's the period of development of technology like automobiles, telecommunication, and science. So these development influenced and shortened the project schedule and cost in a remarkable way. Let's take an example. Golden Gate Bridge. Golden Gate Bridge is a suspension bridge. It is 1 mile wide and 3 mile long. It was opened in 1937. Let's look into the project management factors behind the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a very good example of how to deal with, how to prepare, or how to manage for the risk factors. First of all, they succeed to express the proper vision, and their vision was to create a cost-effective design in order to improve the traffic flow. So first of all, they studied the feasibility of the project, and the local authority recommended that the construction would cost at least $100 million. But in order to limit the cost, in order to reduce the budget, the engineer Joseph Strauss made use of a suspension bridge design. But the idea of suspension bridge increased the problems related to the structure. So they had to deal with the issues or problems to create such a structure. So the engineer assembled a team to study about the structure, its structural factors, and in order to create the first design. Another risk factor was about the safety of the laborers on the site. Actually, before the commencement of the project, they calculated high death rate and accidents. So in order to overcome these factors, they established a proper They established very properly arranged safety measures on the site under the leadership. And they also assigned a full-time medical personnel for inspection and support during the construction work. Also, they provided the right tools to team members to make sure that the human resources in the project are safe, motivated, and moving towards the completion of project. Also, they identified potential issues in advance and they found the threats and opportunities in advance. And in order to overcome that, they communicated, analyzed them, and implemented a planned response for handling them. So basically, from the project management side, they found all the risk factors in advance and they succeed to implement or establish the solutions for overcoming those risk factors. So it's the best side of the project management. Second page, 1958 to 1979. It's the period of rapid development of computer technology. And also very important and significant project management tools like CPM and PERT were introduced during this period. The third period was from 1980 to 1994. During this period, low-cost multitasking personal computers for controlling and managing complex projects were arrived. So, new softwares and applications got introduced during this period. Last and the fourth period, 1995 to present. It's the period of internet development of internet and information technology, and it changed the business practices in a dramatical way. Also, this created a new environment and space for improvement. Let's take one example, Kochi Metro project. Actually, Nimesh has already mentioned about Kochi Metro project. I'm going to talk about the project management factors behind it. Let's see how the development of IT or internet has influenced the project management factors of Kochi Metro. Actually, it's a very good example of the management of data and document in the perfect way. In order to manage the drawings and data, they created a folder system. Actually, there were 3 independent parties involved in this project. So they created they used Google Drive to create a hyperlink to control and monitor all these folders. Also, they used PIRS, Project Information Retrieval System. The benefit or the good side of the system is that no need to manually upload and update drawings separately within the respective system. And also, all the data and drawings can be accessed from anywhere at any time by any of these parties. So the whole system became very transparent and easy to handle. And also important information like minutes of meetings, recordings, and progress can be shared, stored, and updated directly within PIRS. So whole system became very transparent again. And it reduced the risk of communication between parties. The communication became very easy and very accurate. And it also improved project and document overview. It also reduced the risk of working on wrong documents, like the accessibility or the availability of the up-to-date documents help to avoid the risk related to the wrong document. So all important information became centrally available. So this is how the development of IT or the internet influenced the project management factors in the current scenario of a project in the current scenario. So this is all about the Kochi Metro, the project management factors related to the Kochi Metro. Okay, next topic is the evaluation of project management. Actually, this one is also covered by our professor, so I'm not going to talk about this also. Let's skip this one. Okay, so next I'm inviting Ronak to present the next topic. Welcome, Ronak.
Hello everyone, my name is Ronak Suthar and here I am representing my part of the work, which is the difference between traditional project management and agile project management. Traditional project management is also known as waterfall project management. It is one kind of the hierarchy structure where everybody follows the senior's order, whereas in the agile project management, it's self-manageable and every team member is able to make changes in the project. Waterfall project management is in the waterfall project management, everything is defined from the very beginning. Like let's say in the civil field, what would be the material, how much the cost the project will take, and in which specific time period the project will be completed. Whereas in the agile project management, it is not defined from the very beginning. With the few information, just a project has to be started, and with the time, everything can be defined. In the traditional project management, the speed is more important. Like in the our construction field, when the owner is spending a huge amount of money for the construction, then he's expecting the speed because he has to pay his interest and manage his financials. So that is the reason that is in the waterfall project management, the speed is more important. And in the agile project management, the quality does matter, not the speed. The speed can be decreased, or let's say a project can be delayed for a few time, but the quality is more important thing in the agile project management. In the waterfall project management, it is one kind of the linear organizational structure, whereas agile project management is interactive organizational structure. Waterfall project management is in this project management, changes are not expected. Like let's say in our construction field, when we have completed our the foundation work, and then owner says that he wants to increase the building, he wants to increase the three-story of the building, then it's not possible because it does affect on the building's foundation, and because it has been completed, that there are only two options, that either the owner changes his idea, or everything should be start from the beginning. So it's very difficult for the in the traditional project management to make the changes in the middle of the project, whereas in the agile project management, it can be changed, and instant changes are also expected. uh, because of this kind of the strictness of the waterfall project management, it is very suitable for the small and less complex projects, whereas agile project management is very suitable for the mega projects. As I said, in the traditional project management, customers involvement is very low. Like only a few time when customer come to the site and see like how the things are going. But in the agile project management, um, customer can make the changes and he can suggest as the project continues, and the customer's review does matter to them, because the changes are not expected, and most of the time when project finishes, then customer are not happy with the final result. So that is the reason that waterfall project management is not the choice of any project manager would not prefer to have this kind of the structure. He would prefer to have the agile project management kind of structure, because customers involvement does matter a lot, and with the final result, they are very happy The customers are very happy with the final results. In the waterfall project management, requirements are known in very advance. Like when we design something, then during the planning, the phase of the planning, we decide what kind of the material would require. So as the project starts, then team can work on it and they can get good kind of the material on the specific time. But in the agile project management, changes are not expected. So that is the reason when some kinds of the requirements should be fulfilled in the short period of the time, and that is the reason that there are not chances that if you go into the market and demand something to have in a short period of the time, then you won't get a good deal. Like you might have to spend some extra money in the same item. In the traditional project management, restarting cost is very high. Like we are making one kind of the building, and after the completion of the most of the work, if someone is saying that or the customer is saying to make the changes or to restart the building, then everything should be demolished, and this it would be very expensive for the project manager and for all others to restart the project. But in the agile project management, restarting cost is not very high. Traditional project management is a fixed development model, whereas agile project management is easily changeable development model. And in the waterfall project management, the traditional project management, idea about the money, time, and the resources which are required, they may be defined from the very beginning, or the project cannot be designed. But whereas in the agile project management, with the help of the advanced softwares, everything can be very accurate, and that is the reason that this kind of the projects are very useful. Like this kind of the project structure are very useful in the IT industry, and the waterfall project management, this kind of the structure is very useful in the construction industry. Thank you very much, and I would like to invite my team member Aspati to join us.
Good morning, one and all. Myself, Ashwini Vodris, and I'm here to discuss the topic project success. If you deliver a project, then we have to evaluate certain factors to know, the delivered project is a success. The reason for this is very, very simple. If you scale or measure your project, then the project you delivered against some factors, you have a position to portray in front of all your stakeholders that these were the factors that we have measured our project against. Here, today we are going to deal with some important factors that we have to consider to make sure that the performed project is a success. The factors are all the activities should be completed within time or the schedule of the project. Then the cost of the project or the project should be completed within the budget. Then the stakeholders should be satisfied or happy with the project. And finally, if the project objectives and benefits are achieved, then the project is said to be successful. Let's discuss in detail. The first factor that determines the project success is the schedule of the project. As the project goes, you have to continuously evaluate your project progress because you will be having a baseline schedule and you have to work out any slippages against those baseline in a timely manner. For example, if scaffolding was supposed to finish at a certain date, make sure that the work is done without any lag or slippage. Here, the importance of a WBS, that is the work breakdown structure, is highlighted, or we have to stick on with the work breakdown structure scope, which does not allow stakeholders to add more activities. If you are considering example of Bangalore Metro, the original deadline for phase 1 was March 2010. And finally, it was open to public on October 2011. Here the slippage or the lag is almost around 1.5 years. It's quite low. So based on the schedule, we cannot consider this project, that is the Bangalore Metro, as a successful one. The second factor and the most important element is the cost of the project, or the project should be within the budget. Just like schedule, the cost of the project should be evaluated or reforecast to compare with actual budget at every stage of the project. For example, if the project budget is X dollars and you have completed almost 50% of your project, then the cost be around X by 2 dollars. If the estimated cost during the project at the mid of the project is exceeding more than around 20%, then we can say that the project budget is not under control. In such cases, the project may have a chance to fail. So reforecast again and again at every milestone of your project. Considering the previous example of Metro Bangalore, in 2006, the baseline cost of the phase 1 was around 6,925 crores. And the final cost came out to be 14,400 crores, which is twice the calculated cost. So the project cannot be considered successful in terms of budget. The next factor to be considered is the satisfaction of stakeholders, or whether the stakeholders are happy with the project output. As you all know, stakeholders are individuals or entities or parties which are affected by your project. So you should collect requirements from the stakeholders, speak to them, what they want from the project at its end. After completing the project, it is very important that the stakeholders are satisfied with the end product of the project or the way you completed the project. Or in other words, we can say if the intended functionality is not served properly, the customer will be unhappy. And also this customer satisfaction can be ensured by taking qualitative checks during the course of the project instead of just working throughout the project and completing it with only the project manager being happy. So identifying happy stakeholders at end of the project is a strong sign that the project is a success. The next factor is of the project success is the objective should be achieved. Project objectives should be achieved. Project objectives are those which should be set up at the very start of the project, that is at the first stage of the life cycle of the project. And it should be fixed at planning stage or at the designing stage. The project objectives should communicate the purposes of the project in a clear and tangible form. So it should be specific, specific, measurable, actionable, tangible, and time-bound objectives are really quite important for a project. Having too much stuff in the work breakdown structure, which is not directly involved in achieving a specific deliverable, and therefore we can avoid such a bunch of objectives which is not critical, and always stay focused to the scope of the project. For example, if you are running a project for the renovation of classroom of a campus or a university or something like that, and if someone says if you have additional time, it could be nice to renovate the canteen or bathrooms of the organization, which is not included in the project. Here the scope is to renovate the classroom and not the canteen and bathrooms. So always stick on to the scope. Now let's move on to the intended benefits of the project. First of all, it should be clear that the project objectives are not the project benefits. They both are different. Two are very distinct things, and you may get confused when developing a project. So, project benefits are not to do with what you hope to achieve in project. That they are not objectives. They are the actual long-term and underlying benefits that the project activities are designed to bring about. It is expressed in relation to the operation or organization rather than the project itself. Considering the previous example of renovation of classroom, the objectives were to renovate the classroom, like painting the walls, changing the carpet, etc. But the benefits from the renovation are like better learning environment, or more pleasant way of physical teaching experience. Here, the benefits can be both tangible and intangible based upon the context. Now, considering the case of developing a new terminal at the airport, the project is completed within the time, cost, and quality constraints, and if the terminal does not meet the rising demand of people, or if the extra capacity is insufficient, the project benefits are not met. Even if the project objectives are met, like the project is within the cost, within the schedule, and within the quality constraints, but it is not meeting the long-term benefits. So in this situation, a project is successful only if both the objectives and benefits are achieved. Now, some other considerations for the success of a project are, first of all, analyzing the risk at an early stage and managing the ongoing risk, thereby minimizing the chance of failure of a project. Then, like, people should not burn themselves out to complete a project, but they should be able to develop new skills or refine existing skills. The knowledge gained during the project should be applied for further project as it increases the efficiency of the project. Moreover, the result of the project should be innovative with increased profitability and decreased cost. Last, but the most important consideration is, without the proper satisfaction of team members, not a single project is successful. Team members are the strength of the project. Without proper teamwork, a project can never reach its goal. So, we have to consider all these factors which we discussed to lead a project into a successful one. Next, my friend Kashyap will continue with the presentation explaining the project failures. And thank you. Thank you so much for hearing me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. Myself, Kashyap Joshi, will continue the presentation further. Project failure. So let us first understand what is project failure. The project becomes a failure mainly when the project is not delivered within the agreed budget and time. Some project may also fail because of poor financial forecast or targeted money is not recovered within the stipulated time. Project failure may be more or less depending on the time it occurs and the severity and its consequences. Types of construction project failure. There are various types of construction failure due to which project fail. Some of them are mentioned here. Failure in concrete structure. When the mixed design is not properly implemented, that is when the site engineer or the assigned engineer does not check the quality of concrete before pouring and the quality of concrete is not tested properly, then it may lead to failure in concrete structure. Component failure. The component failure mainly occurs due to the use of degraded and poor quality of material used. For example, the material not properly stored in the site and the quality and the standard of the material will degrade. And if the material is used, then it will lead to failure. This failure is called as component failure. If the environment assessment is not done properly prior to the start of the project and effective measures are not taken to overcome the site environment condition, then the construction will fail due to environment reasons. The proper environmental assessment such as highest flood level, soil condition, earthquake, tornado prone area should be taken into consideration before start of the project. If the building is designed for the use of residential, but it has been used for commercial purpose, the construction may fail. For example, in Nigeria, a building collapsed as the building was designed for construction of residential, but later the building authorities put it for the use of school as commercial use. Thus, due to different design and excess load, the building collapsed, which is known as component failure. Other type is foundation failure. One of the most important component of any building structure is the foundation. The foundation in any structure should be given the most importance, and no negligence or error should be tolerated while construction of foundation. There are many factors that contribute to the failure of projects. Some of the major factors are listed below. The scope of the project is not clear to the project team before the start of the project can lead to project failure. The planned estimated quantity of the resource does not reach on time at site, so the project won't be completed on time. And if the project has an excessive time constraint, then the project will fail due to lack of resource available to the project completion. If the client expectations are not met, the project cannot be considered a successful project. Planning plays a major role in any project. Approximately 1 minute of planning saves 10 minutes of execution. If the stakeholders are not involved in every stage of the project, then their expectation won't fulfill and hence it will lead to project failure. If the project is not planned fully till its completion, if any obstacles come, how to deal with that may lead to the project failure due to insufficient planning. If the client has the expectation that are not practically possible within the specified budget and time frame, the project will fail due to unrealistic expectation. If the project is one of its own kind and there has no reference to the project and no guide available, the project may fail due to new or untested technology. If there is not proper coordination, effective communication between the project team members and the project manager, the project may fail due to lack of executive support. If the scope of the project, that is the client, keeps on changing the requirement or specification from time to time after every meeting, then it becomes difficult for the execution team to make all the required changes, hence the project may fail. The project team is not given the required tools and technology, the project may fail due to technological incompetence. If the scope of the project is not defined properly to the team, the project may fail due to unclear objectives. If the detailed document about the construction process does not reach to the required team on time, it may lead to unnecessary delays. If lack of expertise and incompetent staff is assigned to the project and the PM doesn't have experience to handle such a large project and doesn't have training, project may fail. Effective methodology and proper strategies to execute the complete construction project is not done properly, the project may fail. Leadership plays an important role as the employees are guided under proper leadership. The project may be completed successfully on time. So now let's take an example, a case study of Dubai's man-made island. Dubai's man-made island, if completed, would have been one of the most marvelous and prestigious projects and would have been a great boost to Dubai's tourism. Dubai is a city that holds the ultimate building like Burj Khalifa. In 2003, a new project has been announced to add its feature, the World Man-Made Island, a project worth billions of dollars. The shape of the man-made island has been resembled the map of Earth with 3 already constructed man-made islands. The world was planned to the tourist hotspot and it just a short ride ahead of Dubai. But after a decade of completion, the islands are still abandoned. There is hardly anything built on that. But why? What's the reason behind it? What happened to the most ambitious project in Dubai? While Palm Jumeirah was still under construction, Nakhil Properties took the risk and started new projects like Lira Island and Palm Ali Island, and even expanded that more ambitiously and large island the world, which would represent every country in the world, and they simultaneously started and completed land reclamation of the complete project. And thus, due to improper environment assessment, poor team management, and insufficient demand and supply analysis, the main reason was the international financial crisis. All the construction sites were compelled to shut down as a real estate price declined subsequently. So now let's take a quick recap. Project. What is project? A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique service or result. This definition is mentioned in the PM book guide. Stakeholder. A stakeholder is a party that has an interest in company and can either affect or be affected by the business. There are different types of stakeholder involved in a project. They are project manager, team member, investor, company owner, executive, project manager, etc. Project management. The application of knowledge, skill, tools, and techniques to project activity to meet the project requirements is project management. Here are some of the references we took to get the information needed. Hope you got everything clear about the project, its operation, what is project management, project planning, project execution, project monitoring and its controlling, project closure, history of project management and how it was involved during the years, project management factor, history of PM evaluation, how the project is considered as successful project and how the project is considered as failure project and the reason behind them. Thank you so much for your time.